Hello, Epic Hero. So some updates. Update number 1. Whew. I got a haircut. I don't know why this is so hard to say, but I mean, I've already told you that I'm non-binary, but I stopped talking about it for a while on my channel because I was really questioning the validity of it and stuff, and having a hard time with it. But then I did a whole 180. Like, I was having a hard time with it because I was like, I feel a social dysphoria. It's still hard for me to talk about, but I feel like I'm to the point where I can talk about it, and I kind of need to because, like, I'm changing my name on everything, and you're probably gonna be like, what happened? Like, I'm not Hope anymore. But we'll get to that in a minute. So I had a hard time talking about gender because of the whole PC culture, meaning if you have to be 100% politically correct, then to discuss something as sensitive as gender can be really hard, because gender is super complicated, and in my experience there's no PC way to talk about it, because your gender does not define anything about you. You can do whatever you want no matter what gender you are. Gender doesn't fucking exist. That's my opinion. Gender doesn't exist. It's a social construct, but I would go further than that and say it's a, I guess, societal construct, which maybe that's the same thing. But since the beginning of time, gender has been, like, in different ways, in different cultures, but it has usually been enforced that there are genders, and oftentimes people take somebody's body and try to force them into this certain kind of gender from whatever, like, so binary genders, male and female. Throughout history, people have taken men and women and tried to force, like, a certain identity on them based on their body. They're like, oh, I mean, you know how stereotypes work. People are like, oh, gay people look on the outside and they go, oh, gay people seem to be really flamboyant. Therefore, if you're gay, you're flamboyant. And if you're flamboyant, you're gay. And it's just like, and it kind of works the same, but that's not true, of course. If you're attracted to men, you're gay. Or if you're a woman attracted to a woman, maybe you'll identify as gay. But you're not, it doesn't have anything to do with being flamboyant. People will stereotype people. People will say, oh, you're a rapper? Like, if you're black, you're a rapper. If you're a rapper, are you trying to be black? Like, everybody tries to take these attributes they see about some people and apply it to a whole entire category of people, right? And they do that with men and women. They say, oh, women like pretty things, because they see most women that they know liking pretty things. And that's what they say, if you're a woman, you like pretty things. And they say, oh, men, most men that I know, they don't care about appearance. They just want to be strong, and they have no emotions. So therefore, if you're a man, that's what you gotta be. Like, it's so gross. It's so gross. Like, not just on the women's side of things, women being forced to be, like, subservient and housewives and stuff, but on the man side of things, men being forced to be, like, strong and unemotional and all those things. Not good, right? Not good. People need to be whatever variety of femininity and masculinity they want to be. Sometimes people want to be all the way, who were born assigned male at birth, want to be all the way on the feminine spectrum. That's more how they are. They're like entirely feminine or mostly feminine, and so they decide that they're identifying as sometimes they decide that they're identifying as transgender, and so now they want to change their body to look like a woman so they can, like, fit in society better. Or sometimes people that are assigned female at birth will really be mostly masculine to the point that they want to change their body into a man so that they can fit into society better. you know? And of course it's totally fine to to totally identify as a man and be completely feminine acting and feminine like performing and all these things, and it's okay to be a woman and be totally masculine in your presentation, in the way that you act, in the way that you live. You know, it's okay to cut your hair short, wear pants, get a job, you know, work on the farm, chop down trees, like, you know. And it's okay for a man to wear a dress, wear makeup, you know, like be really soft and gentle and sensitive. It's okay for all of those things. But because our society has forced people into certain boxes of masculinity and femininity, and like I said, many cultures beforehand, this seems to happen all the time. We use the words masculinity and femininity, you'll notice everybody does it in their everyday life, to describe a certain set of attributes. Now when you're raised in that kind of environment, and so for me, of course, like everybody else in America, I was raised in that kind of environment where women are trying to be forced into a certain kind of category of behavior and attributes. Men are forced into a certain kind of category of behavior and attributes. Especially, my family was really traditional, so I was really, really forced into that. It wasn't just like society expects me to be, although that's hard enough. But no, my family was like, you're a woman, you have to have long hair. You know, they're incredibly traditional, incredibly religious, and they're just like, you have to have long hair, that's the rule. You cannot be masculine in any way. You have to wear dresses, you cannot wear pants ever. You have to like look feminine, and sometimes that might mean wearing jewelry, sometimes that might mean wearing makeup, sometimes that might mean just dressing up a little bit more, but you have to look feminine. And boys cannot wear heels, cannot have their hair long, cannot, you know, try to be feminine in any way, or wear jewelry or anything like that, unless it's traditionally like expected for a man, like a wedding ring. So yeah, they would say women have to have babies and like stay at home and have lots of kids and make food, cannot get a job, cannot go to college, blah blah blah. The men have to go out and be the breadwinners. The men have to wear the pants. The men have to be in charge of and responsible for the family financially. You know, incredibly traditional gender roles. And so maybe it's no wonder that I grew up and was like, okay, well, I like working on the farm. I was never good at cooking. I was never good at sewing. I would like refuse to wear makeup until I was like 20. I started trying it a little bit. I refused. I wanted to run, I wanted to play, I wanted to help build fences and wrangle the goats and like climb trees, and I didn't want to care how I wore, what I wore. I didn't care about that. I just wanted to wear tennis shoes all the time, and like I hated when I was forced to do girl things, when I was forced to be a girl. I hated when I was forced to be like, we have to be pretty and you have to do these things. I hated it. So no. And any women that I like aspired to and looked up to were always the ones who were like the most handsome and the most like strong, and yeah. And I honestly mostly looked up to the men. Like, you know, I'm talking about watching movies, and I'm always like, I always relate to like the Doctor Who, and like, you know, Spock and Daniel Jackson, and I never relate to the women in any of these movies. And part of that I do believe is because the women are Hollywood isn't good at like good female representation. They don't have good characters. But I've always wanted to be these guys. I've always wanted to, you know, so yeah. And then this is an interesting angle. And then I sort of left home, started trying to live how I wanted. Started trying to, okay, also in our church. All right, let's just spill the tea. Let's just spill all the tea. Also in our church that we went to, and any kind of church type functions that we went to, segregation isn't even enough to talk about it. The men over here, the women over here, no talking, no chit-chatting, no looking at each other. Because, you know, then the sex might happen. You know, joke's on them because I was attracted to women, so not that I ever got close to any of the girls in that church either, because everybody was super closed off and like obedient to their parents to a creepy degree. Anyway, so I am, yeah, we're segregated. The men can't talk to the women, the men can't talk to the girls, and the girls can't talk to the boys. Like, it started getting worse and worse as I got older. I feel like it just felt gross. And I honestly identify with more of what the boys were talking about. The boys were often talking about, you know, action films and, you know, wanting to go climb trees and like joking around, being sarcastic and like rough and stuff. And I like, and wanted to go play outside and play, you know, frisbee or whatever. And I was like, yes, please. And then the girls were all like, so did you like, have you been reading any like Christian biographies lately? And look, I made this cross stitch. And I was just like, I am on the wrong side of the fence. Like, no. God. I'm not trying to put down any women that want to be feminine or any men that want to be masculine. That's great. That's just not what I wanted. And also, I feel like religious environments stop, like that kind of religious environment, stop children from having their own independent will. So like literally they just do what their parents say. The group culture was that the parents and the elders seem to believe is that girls should be doing this and boys should be doing this. So girls and boys just did that, literally out of fear of their parents shaming them for not falling into those roles. Of course, you probably understand gender roles are enforced everywhere, but there was no alone time ever between kids. There was no even girls. There was no alone time ever. It was like the parents are there, hovering or in the room like constantly. You better be like sticking to those gender roles, and you better not, like, we wouldn't talk about anything. Like, even when we're teenagers, we wouldn't talk about any kind of like boys being cute or like girls being cute or like anything even the remotest bit relationship oriented, much less, like, we weren't even allowed to talk about romance, much less sex. Like, us kids never had relationships ever. We were just like acting out this play that our parents wanted us to act out. That's how it was when we were together. Me with my siblings, that's a bit of a different story. I mean, I lived with them. I was able to talk to them about more things. But me with other kids from like the church, there were no real relationships. So I never got close to any of those girls. I to this day have like no idea who they are. No idea. Even though I'm supposed to know them, I guess. And I don't know, maybe the guys didn't either, but they sure seemed a lot more like me. It seemed like the girls were holding up this front, and that could be because I just don't identify with those things like makeup and beauty and all that. And it could just be because some of them might have identified more with the boy activities as well, but couldn't adhere to them. Anyway, for all I know, there were guys over there that were like, can I go talk about cross stitch? Like, you know? But femme shaming, so, you know. Anyway, back to where my story was. This didn't mean to be a tea spilling video, but it just went downhill real fast. All that to say, I ended up identifying much more with masculinity. And then, but I didn't have a lot of interactions besides my little church and my family. But then when I eventually left home last year, like, I knew I felt like a boy, but I guess I was thinking, well, I can just feel like a boy inside and like believe that I'm a boy inside, but just still be a girl on the outside. Because it's not like I hated my body or anything. People talk to me online in this LGBT safe group that I'm in that I might be non-binary, you know? And I'd seen that on YouTube and on different things, and I was like, yeah, maybe, but like, I don't hate my body, so like, maybe I'm just a girl and could just be happy being a girl doing boy things. So anyway, I tried that out for a while. I go to Chick-fil-A. That's where I'm working, for one of my first jobs, working at Chick-fil-A. And that was where I first experienced high schoolers, I guess, because of most of the kids that worked there were high schoolers. And most of them, not all of you, you know, a few of you were nice. Most of them were really, really cliquey, really, really snide and making fun of each other all the time. They were femme shaming people. They were No. They were making groups of hate towards each other, secretly behind other people's backs. They were like talking trash about each other. They were like hating on people for the way that they dressed, for the way that they looked. It was gross. It was gross. I'm sorry if you were in that group. I know I live in that town and I might run into you. You should be ashamed. You know that there was a group that I'm talking about, all to hate on another person who was probably my best friend there because she actually worked hard and all of you guys hated that. And yeah. All the tea is being spilled now. That was gross. And so anyway, I'm stuck in that like high school environment, which I was homeschooled, so I never got to go to high school. So involved with all the cliques and all the femme shaming, gay shaming. Yeah, I heard someone called a fag by this 13-year-old girl or something. And they're just fine with that. They're supposed to be Christian. This is a Christian company. These are Christian kids. So loving. Yeah. Anyway, so I was in that environment, and when I was in that environment, I experienced so much. I don't know if masculine shaming is a thing, but everyone expected me to conform. They expected me to conform with my interests. Oh, I'm interested in Broadway. What? I'm not interested in rap? Oh, I'm so stupid. Now nobody wants to talk to me. Oh, I'm expected to just behave like a girl. Only the girls would talk to me, and the guys would only talk to me if they were flirting with me. One, I'm not straight, man. Also, I'm you. I'm one of you. I'm not a fucking object, alright? Like, I'm a human, and I honestly feel like a boy. And you're over here, every time they would look at me, the only way that they looked at other girls, I was slapped in the face. It's like, this is how they see you. They see you as a girl, but you know you're not a girl inside. You know you're not. And then the other girls, the way they talked to me, the way they talked to the boys was one way, and the way they talked to the girls was another way. Often, it's not that I disliked the way they talked to the girls, because again, I'm sure any boy in there, if he identified, I'm sure boys in there could feel shame too, especially if the girls were like getting all cliquish with each other, like, we're the girls club, and not talking to the boys in that way. I'm sure that would hurt them as well. But it hurt me just as much to have the girls like clicking me in with the girls club, even when they were just being nice. Anyway, so I experienced a lot of that there. I moved on to other jobs and things, but I like kept going through life and meeting a lot nicer people and just normal, sweet, nice people. I kept running into that social shame where that social dysphoria is the real word, where the women all look this certain way, and it's odd to me because I'm just like, are they all faking it? Because I don't feel like that, and I don't have any urge to dress and look like that, and I don't feel like I look like that, and I hate looking like that, like wearing all the makeup and having to do long hair and look trendy and all these things. Never wanted that. I've always wanted to be a boy, and I kind of just assumed all girls did. And so looking around, I see all these women, all these girls like dressed this way that I always see on Pinterest, this way that I always see on magazines, where it's like, this is a girl, and I'm like, nah, that's not how girls really want to dress, because I'm a girl, so I thought, and I know. But no, a lot of these girls do want to dress that way, and they do like it, and that was like a mind explosion for me, that like, not every girl wants to be a guy, and not every girl feels like they are one, and feels like, oh, when I get out of this restrictive environment and can do whatever I want, I'm gonna be a boy. Not everybody thinks that, so that was an interesting revelation. Yeah, that was hard, I think, because I thought also when I get out of those groups into more like liberal and kind and understanding groups, that they would treat me like a boy, and I guess I didn't, or that there just wouldn't be gender, and that people would just be all totally expressing themselves however they wanted along the masculinity and femininity spectrum, and that there wouldn't be shame. Yeah, that's not really how it is. From what I've experienced, people just interact with each other so gendered. And if you look at the science, if anyone's watching this way being like, oh, scientifically though, your gender is in your pants. Do you have a penis or a vagina? Yeah, I'm a person with a vagina. I don't have any trouble with that. But what I'm talking about is the ways that we expect people to act, right? All those ways I was telling you that people expect women to act. Like, women are just like this. Women do this. Women do that. Women are more gentle. Women are more emotional. Women like pretty things. Women, they might say, are less likely to take risks. Women, all the stuff that people have stuffed in this box of what women are. And all the stuff, strength, toughness, lack of interest in details, and all the stuff that they've stuffed in this box of masculinity. There's so much stuff in those boxes, and if you look in those boxes for 1 second and like compare it to science, you'll realize there is no proof that any of that stuff is true. There is no proof that all that stuff has to be what women are like, and there's no proof that all that stuff has to be what men are like. They are anecdotal evidence, confirmation bias that forces us, and cultural peer pressure that forces us to conform and to believe that like that's true. If anyone was to say, oh, we're gonna decide what food is healthy and what food is not healthy based on how people feel after interacting with that food. Like, do you feel healthy? I was like, yeah, I feel pretty healthy. It's like, then it's healthy. We'll market it as healthy. The FDA will say, everybody eat this. That would be the stupidest thing ever, right? Or if they're like, hey, what if it was a Big Mac? And it's like, you can't make scientific claims based on anecdotal evidence. But that's what people are doing about gender. They're saying girls are like this because I know a girl and she seems like that to me. Like, oh, well, how scientific. Wow, that definitely proves your point. When the fact is, actual science, studying the human brain and putting people in different environments. I should link the book below. Is it Testosterone Rex? Or the gender, what is it called? There's this book that's really good about gender, about the science of gender. But all these things that we put in these boxes, as a matter of fact, are like completely different, really no matter what gender you are. They're just like completely different. Like sometimes men are like this, sometimes women are like this, sometimes men are like this and that. And the more you remove somebody from a peer pressure environment, the more you'll start to see how genders really are. And the fact that we've literally been forcing people into these constructs forever. And unfortunately, here's a bit of my feminist coming out. Some of that is because men are physically stronger, and that means that there's fear on the side of women to please and to all these kinds of things throughout history is what I mean. Throughout history, there's been this, men have strength, so of course they give the orders and they start becoming patriarchal. That does in no way mean that men are actually better leaders. That does in no way mean that men are actually more leaderly. They have been leaders throughout history because they could kill the woman if she tried, for the most part. Until you start getting to more like dictator and political type of structures, where you often have more like peaceful type, either more peaceful type structures or political like conniving type of structures, then you start getting where you can get women who get into power because they're not going to be just like bulldozed by the guys. So yeah, it's like, because of their physical strength, because of testosterone, that's the reason that has trickled down into defining all these things about gender that never had to be a thing. Yeah, so if you could just backtrack history for a few hundred years, either give everyone testosterone or take it away from everybody, we would have a much different story. As you see with trans people, of course they do more than just testosterone. If they are altering, if they're becoming a woman or becoming a man, but that's a big part of it. So yeah, and once you understand how things like testosterone and estrogen actually affect you, you'll learn, yeah, how gender can, sex and biological sex, what it actually affects, and how the rest of the stuff about gender is just like not always true. Okay, so yeah, that's how I feel about gender. I didn't mean to go on this whole rant. I guess I feel like I have to like defend myself when I'm explaining my gender, because most of the population thinks that if you have a penis or if you have a vagina, that means that you fall into this whole big box of things. And I do not. I fall somewhere in the middle because I'm not afraid of masculinity or femininity, and I've always felt like a boy who's not afraid to be girly. And that's why I identify as non-binary. For a while there, I was considering like starting testosterone, like transitioning into a man. But then I realized I don't really hate my body. Like, I feel like if I was born a boy, I would have been like, why can't I be feminine too? You know? So I'm somewhere in the middle. It's not really that complicated. It's such a big mind fuck for people. Like, you're not a man or a woman? And it's like, no, I have this huge dysphoria, this disconnect when I'm in a group of people who treat me like a woman and they expect me to be like a woman, and I'm not. Because in fact, I'm like a man. But sometimes I'm like a woman, and it just depends on the situation, and you're just gonna have to evaluate it based on me, because very, very both. So, yeah. So that's why I'm non-binary, and I'm changing my name to Chris. So I'm Chris now, hi. It's not actually new either, because ever since, my middle name is Christine, and ever since I was younger, I had this alter ego, this male alter ego called Chris. He was kind of a softer boy, but he was a boy. And he grew up with me, like being that masculine presence and being that masculine side of me, as an outlet when I felt like I couldn't express it. Yeah. Yep. And I had a really hard time with my body changing originally when it did. And I still kind of hate some things about like my female body and my female experience, but not enough to like want to change it, you know what I mean? Yeah. I finally, yeah, anyway. So that's my story. Hi, I'm Chris. So yeah, Chris has been with me forever, and that's the masculine alter ego that I always had, and so now that I am non-binary, I'm keeping it. I also feel that it is, like, androgynous in a way, because it's, I don't know, it makes sense to me, and it's short for Christine, so, yeah, Chris.